What's up, everybody? It's the movie Ginger, and this is episode 2 of the Fear Feed. And today we have a very special treat. I have director Jason Pitts. I have Annie Sullivan that played Chloe, and I got Scott Doss that played Julian from this new indie film that's coming out called The Forest Through the Trees. And I tell you what, I have to say, I appreciate all of you for coming and being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
Yeah,
I have
thank you
to
so much for
ask,
having us.
yeah, no problem. No problem. So, Jason, I have to ask you, where did this idea come from to write this film? Because I am a huge fan of cult-based horror films. So I have to ask, where did the idea spark?
So I work at a news station, and my job is like 60 miles from my house. So I spend a lot of time driving back and forth. It's an hour commute one way. And one night, it's where I do my best writing is when I'm driving in the middle of the night to work. And one night I had this a specific image in my head, and I don't want to like give spoilers, but that specific image, I built the story from that image, and I started thinking heterochromia. I've always been fascinated with that, and how cool that looks visually. And I started thinking, like, what could that mean in a movie? And then I thought of the phrase that the eyes are the windows to the soul. And so I kind of went down that rabbit hole, brainstorming of what would that mean, like a window to what? And so I came up with the concept that it could mean that the window's open for something demonic to get in. And so I wrote the story based on that idea, and created this cult after this specific person with this genetic whatever it's called thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I like it. It's unique. It hasn't been done before. I'm always looking out for fresh ideas. That's why I love indie horror so much. I always say that indie horror is the absolute heartbeat of the horror genre. It really is.
I agree.
Now I wanna move over to Annie real quick. Chloe is not exactly a simple character. She's got a lot going on, and we're not going to do any spoilers or anything. But you're dealing with an absent parental figure. You're dealing with your own internalized feelings with your stepdad. So, how do you prepare emotionally to step into the role of Chloe, Annie?
It was a lot. Because you're right, she has so much going on. But I've talked about this with Jason before. I don't have I'm very fortunate I have both of my parents, but I do have experience with seeing a family member go through substance abuse and alcoholism because I have two siblings that are recovering drug addicts. So I've seen what that can do within like a family unit. So even though it wasn't exactly the same thing, that heartbreak of wanting more from someone around you and just not being able to get it because they are so hell bent on something else is something that I have experienced. So I kind of played into that in my relationship with Ken. And me and Jason did a lot of work, us too. We had a lot of Zooms where we would just go through the script and talk about each moment, talk about what each moment meant. I still have my script in my binder somewhere, but I just had like reveal, reveal, heartbreak, reveal, reveal. So I could really have each beat like in my body before we started shooting. So that's kind of what works for me is just going through the script and seeing how I can relate it to something I've been through without being too specific to where it's not unique anymore, but it's like playing on those feelings to bring it to Chloe rather than this is how Annie felt when I was going through that, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. I love it. I love it. It's so funny that you say that because he actually randomly came across my TikTok out of nowhere the other day. I guess because the TikTok algorithm knew that I was talking about this movie somehow. He randomly just shows up in my feed giving this motivational speech, telling everybody how awesome they are and that, not give up the fight. And I was like, dude, I just saw you in the forest through the trees. I'm like, you kicked ass, man. I'm like, and it's so weird that you just showed up. And he followed me And he was like, "Hey, thanks, man. That means a lot." So I'm assuming that his character in the movie, he probably is just like that in real life because he seems like a really genuine guy.
He is. Me and him were like, we really did have kind of like a father and daughter kind of bond after getting to know each other. Like, he is just someone you could call him from 2 states away if you needed help, and he'd be like, "I'm getting in my truck and I'll come help you." Like, he is such a nice guy.
Incredible. I love that. Now, I'm going to bounce to our favorite villain real fast here. I know he's mine because whenever he hit that screen, immediately my eyes left center stage to the left there. And I was like, I got to talk to this guy. So, Scott, I have a question for you.
All right.
So, playing a villain is already not a small feat. It's a certain headspace that you have to get into. You seem like such a damn nice guy. So it's like, how do you go into this whole cult leader mentality, like, and just stay there? Like, how did you tap into that mindset without taking it home with you?
Well, it is so much fun to play evil and to get to do things you don't normally do in everyday society. But with this character, it was so well written that reading the script, I had a pretty good intention of what I thought he should be. And so Jason and I talked, and I told him, I said, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to show this to you, and please pull me back if I'm doing anything that you don't like, if it's too over the top, because these are the vibes I'm getting. And I said, but I don't want to turn him into anything comical or make him like a Saturday Night Live villain. I said, so please rein me in if I'm doing anything you don't like. And I said, I'm not using my real voice either. So anything you don't want, tell me. And I did it. And he goes, go with that. Run with that. So that's what we did.
That's incredible. I have to say that is a character that I will not soon forget. Definitely. And I just want to say you knocked it out of the park. Fantastic job.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you liked it.
No, listen, I was a huge fan of that performance because I'm like you. You know, if I ever wanted to play a part in a horror movie, I would want to play the cult leader. I would want to play the slasher because playing it just seems like, you know, and it always seems like the nicest people always play the baddest people the best. and I don't know why. I don't know why, but that just seems like that's just how it goes. It's like, I don't know, there's something inside of nice people that they tap into, and it's just like malicious in there. And then it's like, after you're done, it's like, oh, hey, everything's back to normal again.
Yeah, we get to do something we don't normally do, and then we come back to nature, and everything's
There's
fine.
a lot of repressed feelings in nice people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? You may be onto something there. You're right. Everybody's got a line in the sand. The nice people, ours is just a little bit further down the beach than most people's, you know. So, Jason,
Yes.
I got a question for you. What was the biggest challenges that you faced during the production, if any? You know, I know you would love to say that everything just went exactly the way you wanted it to, but we know that's not reality a lot of times.
Things never go exactly the way you want it to, ever. So there were two pretty big ones. Day one, we're getting ready for our first shot with Annie, and and she has heterochromia, right? But her eyes are naturally blue. Like, she doesn't really have heterochromia.
Right.
So we bought, I guess about 6 months before we started shooting, we bought some brown contacts. And we started looking for these contacts, and we can't find them. So somewhere between the time we bought them and day one of shooting, we lost them.
Oh,
Yeah. So that kind of threw me for a loop day one. So we shot that scene only showing her right or her left side where her blue eye was. And then the next day we came up with another plan. I have a friend who's really good at special effects, and I called him and I said, hey, here's the situation. We don't have this contact that we need. Would you be able to digitally color her right eye brown through the entire film? And he's like, you want me to do what? So he thought about it for a little bit, and he says, yeah, I think I could do it. And when you think about that, every frame she's on the screen, he had to track her right pupil and digitally color it brown through the entire film. So what his name is Chuck Murray, and he's incredible. What he did on this film is just incredible. I can't say enough about it. He like saved the film being able to do that. The other thing was the entire first week. We had 3 weeks of shooting, 5 days each, and the entire first week was all overnights, and it rained every single day during the day while we were sleeping, and like literally let up like 10 minutes before we were starting to shoot, and then didn't rain until we wrapped in the morning and like started pouring again. For 4 days it did that. The fifth day it didn't stop, and it like we literally had like probably like tornadoes and stuff close to us. We got rained out the fifth day of week one, so we had to change things around in week two and make room for what we were going to shoot in week one and day two. So that was a big challenge. So those two things were the two biggest challenges.
Yeah, because nothing screams bummer like being flooded out of a planned movie shoot. I can imagine you were just like, give me a break.
Yeah,
Like
it was a stressful week. But like I think that something divine was on our side, because literally for 4 days it would stop right when we were about to shoot. We had plans and backup plans in case it didn't stop raining. But yeah, and so like planning what we would do if it didn't stop raining took like most of the day. So like a lot of us did not get hardly any sleep that first week at all. Because
that must have been old Julian talking to Malphaz over there,
No,
making up.
I had nothing to do with that.
No, but the thing is, you were able to power through it. You
Yeah.
had to readjust on the fly, and you ended up making a really good film that you should be proud of.
Thank you.
So I have to say, the dynamic between the antagonist and the protagonist in the film is always such a thing that I look forward to. I call it the payoff, and I really like the payoff of the movies. And I really feel like that this movie is a third act film for me, because in the third act, it's like, it's going down, and there's nothing that's going to stop it. We're here, I mean, it really, really found its footing in the third act for me. And I really love the way that it was shot, the acting, and shout out to the practical effects mixed with the CGI. I thought the CGI was done very tastefully. I do not think it was overdone. It's a hard line. Sometimes a lot of movies, especially for, indie flicks, they overutilize CGI, and it kind of takes you out of the film a little bit. I want to say that like there's a lot of things that I noticed where you used it just enough to really get the point across, or just when you had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really awesome. I'm a huge fan of practical effects. The 80s is my favorite like decade of horror. That is why I really love practical effects. So anytime that I see them being utilized like that, there were some scenes that you pulled off, and I was like, that was really shot well. So like I said, once again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I was really impressed with the way you utilized all of that. So that was really, really awesome.
Thank you. I'm not big on visual effects either. I prefer practical. And like we only really used them to enhance what we had already on screen.
Yeah.
And originally there wasn't any visual effects plan in this film, but when we had to adapt to not having the contact and was forced to use the CGI for the eye, for Chloe's eye, it opened up my mind to the possibility of using CGI. And so as we were going through the film, I'm like, okay, we could do something here, because I started like going down that train of like being able, like we can do CGI here, we can do it here. And so, there's that scene where Malphus appears behind Chloe.
I love that
Yeah.
scene.
that happened because of losing the contacts. Because when we were shooting that, I'm like, we could have Malthus appear behind her here,
That
using
was
CGI.
that
So
was great. I really
yeah.
like that. It was awesome. And Annie, playing this character, do you feel like that this was a really big challenge for you, like creatively, to get into the mind of this character? Like, do you feel like it really stretched you as an actress?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because this was probably one of the most vulnerable characters I've ever played. Jason and Scott know I play the villain all the time. Like very, very often. And I love it. I love playing the villain. So just the emotional turmoil that she went through was something, like I went to like theater school and like, I had done things like that, but like, actually doing it on set for 112 pages of a movie is like totally different than like being in an acting class.
Right.
So the prep was a lot different, and finding those things that really ignited me when we're in the moment on set, okay, it's time to do it, were very different. And I was actually just talking about this to my parents last night because my parents watched it last night. And they loved it. They thought it was my mom told me she didn't like it because she thought it was scary. And I said, fair. But my dad thought it was great. He really, really loved it. But anyways,
Awesome.
I really opened me up emotionally just because she does go through so much. So though it was challenging and there was some days where I was just so exhausted and I would have to say like, I'm just going to sit by myself for a minute. Like, everyone, please leave me alone. It really opened me up within future work. I find that I can be more vulnerable when I'm acting and really open my heart up more than I feel like I used to. So I think it was a great challenge that stretched me so much, but it only benefited me because now it's something I can really play off of in future projects. And I have gotten to use a lot more just finding that within myself. So it was very cathartic. Like, as horrible as it is to scream and cry for basically the whole movie, it really is a release, and it's so amazing when you get to really pull from yourself to do what's on the page. So I wouldn't change anything about it. It was a challenge, but it was a great challenge.
That's amazing, because who needs a rage room whenever you can just go be an actress and get a part where you get to scream and cry throughout the whole movie? I get it.
Exactly. When
It's a
Jason
great
said, "Give me
release.
a guttural scream," I said, "Sure, no problem. Happy to do it."
I got you.
Jason, she doesn't ever have to go into any kind of anger management or therapy classes.
Nope.
Like you just took care of it for her. It's all good now. So Scott, I have to ask, with your character being so menacing and just so downright evil, was there ever any shots during the movie where you just kind of felt bad for like how dark you were? Like, did you ever feel just kind of like sympathy for his character? Like, did you feel bad in any takes and you just had to like stop and be like, all right, we got to try this again?
I was so in the mindset that whenever I felt that way, I thought, oh, good, this is working. Like when I was badgering Ava and she started crying, if I had been me, I would have been apologizing all over the set, but I wasn't me. And I thought, keep going. This is great.
Amazing. That is great. And that's the thing. You never know what's going on inside the head of the actor that's having to play that part. So that to know that you're able to just kind of be like, hey, it's all 100% effort, and
Yeah.
I'm just going, and I'm just gonna keep going until Jason says cut. That's really cool to know, because you always wonder, you'll never know what's going on inside the head of the villain, and it's really cool to kind of get a peek in there, so thank you for answering that. That's really awesome. Jason, one thing I noticed is the film's tone. It's really kind of got a somber, haunting type tone to it, to me. So how did you go about building and maintaining that tone? Because to me, I always felt like a constant sadness while watching the movie.
So a lot of that, I think, the bulk of that comes from Simone's score. I think the music. Uh,
Wonderful score.
yeah, like we worked together. Like I told him kind of what I wanted throughout the film and kind of at different moments, and he's incredible. And the score that he did, I mean, if you really watch it, like there's beats that like match characters' movements, and like when like the door opens in the cabin, like it's all like the sound that the door makes is almost part of the score now because of what he did, and it's just really cool what he did. So I think a lot of the tone, that like the feeling, comes from the score, um, and the pacing of the film, and how it's edited. And Will Reed did a great job with the editing as well. So
And what do you hope the audience takes away from this film as a whole?
that love is sacrificed.
That was a powerful line.
Yeah.
Listen, whenever Scott, well, Julian, but whenever Scott delivered that line, there was so much conviction in that delivery. And it's like when you just said it, it's like I could just see that scene in my head again. Like that was great. That was very, very good dialogue right there. I really enjoyed that.
No, I just want people to be entertained by it. Just watch this film, be scared by it, be moved by it. I think the relationship with Ken and Chloe, a lot of fathers and daughters can relate to, and
Yeah.
so just be entertained by it. That's all I want.
You know that well, you definitely succeeded for this audience right here. I was definitely entertained. I really just want to say that y'all should be so proud of what you accomplished and what you got to film and to experience, because I really, really enjoyed this film. Like, and that's something that I know other people like myself that are really huge supporters of independent horror, that have the same mindset that I do, that they're gonna like it. They're gonna like it a whole lot. You know, the thing is, at the end of the day, you all got to do what you love. I mean, you all came together and you had such layered characters. Like, there was a lot of depth there, and I feel like that. I feel like that we could have went like so much deeper with the characters, like, because you would have had like a 2.5 hour movie. But like, I feel like the characters were really well written. They were very convincing
Yeah.
and relatable, and it's really a breath of fresh air whenever you get to see something that really speaks to you so much. So I was definitely a huge fan of the production. So did y'all have any like offset bonding things that you did as a whole? Like, I know you had mentioned that, you had Zoom calls and everything, but like, did you and the cast like do anything together, like to like get a more like symbiotic bond with each other?
Sort of, like, there wasn't anything like specific that we had planned, but the way this thing was shot was like each week we were kind of in a central location, and I had to solve the problem of what to do, where to house people. And so I picked locations that had like cabins or other buildings where everyone can sleep. So for 3 weeks, basically, it was almost like a summer film camp. We
Yeah.
all we all slept in the same places. We all ate in the same places. We basically lived together for 3 weeks, and we were together when we weren't filming. One night, when the night that we got rained out, we had a big party, uh, with like tornadoes coming at us, watching some of our old movies that we did, and just playing games, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, we just kind of bonded from basically living together.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Off screen you're together, on screen you're together. I bet that really helped build that relationship, that trust, because whenever you don't really know anybody, like if you don't know somebody on that kind of level, it's hard to kind of like open yourself up to them and like just trust them, especially in today's time. You get, once you get that ground level trust established with them and you have something that you can build off of, I know that was probably something really awesome. So I have to ask, if the character Chloe could speak directly to the audience, what do you think she would say about everything that happened?
God.
What?
She'd probably say like WTF, because like her whole because her whole world is, without spoiling anything, like
Yeah.
everything around her
Yeah.
is not what she thought. Like,
Yeah.
even the basic only information she has, like, oh, my mom is missing, is not what she thought. Like, nothing is what it seems. So
Yeah.
her world is turned upside down. So I think honestly she would be like, what the hell? This sucks.
Talking about the rug pull of the century.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Like, as if
Yeah.
this poor girl's not going through enough. Like,
And I have to say, I like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I thought that I kind of had it, figured out, but there was, you caught me in that toward the end there with some things that were revealed that I
Hey,
didn't see
John?
coming. Yeah.
John, we're like almost 30 minutes in. If you guys,
Yep.
if you want to get into spoilers, we can like do a, hey, if you haven't seen it, stop watching now thing. If you want to do, if you
Yeah,
want to do that.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You heard the man himself. We're going to dig into the spoilers of the film. And if you want to turn it off, I'll give you a couple of seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, spoiler alert. Here we go. All right. So I have to say, all right, the mouth ass as at the reveal with the mind control and all of the powers and stuff like that, you playing the vessel, that all of that was, it was insane. It was so insane, and I thought that it was great. I thought that whenever, okay, well, it was insane, but it was also heartbreaking.
yeah.
Because Ava, I really, my heart kind of hurt really bad. My heart hurt for Chloe because she really thought that she had this ride or die person. She didn't have anybody else. Even Ken had his demons and everything like that. And you thought you had that one person
Mm-hmm.
just to find out that it was all a lie. And then you find out who your father is.
It's just
And
like,
I'm just,
damn,
like you said, WTF? What?
That
What
was
is-
when we were shooting that, like, I remember just feeling like kind of sick in my stomach at that point. Like, not because of Scott or anything. Like,
I'm not.
Oh, of
because
course.
because of Julian. Like, I remember just thinking like WTF, like, ew. Like, when he says like this is a family affair, it's such a like what the hell moment. It just was like
It just crawls in. It just crawls into your skin because whenever you can see that grimace on his face,
Yeah.
and he's just like, that man's not your father, and it was just like, ah,
But it's
man.
like, the worst part is like, I knew that. You know what I mean? Like, I knew Ken wasn't my dad. Like, I was
Yeah,
firing
right,
off about
yeah.
the whole movie. But like, it's like, okay, fine. I finally love this like pseudo father figure I have.
Yeah.
Oh, but just kidding. Your real father is this man. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's like, what do you
know,
mean,
like-
my dad?
She's like, who's my dad? Who's my dad? And then it's like, be careful what you wish for. This is
Seriously.
What do you mean my dad is a mouth-ass obsessed cult member who is trying to bring hell on earth? This is not the reveal I was hoping for.
Who has facilitated me being chained to this pole for like days on end. Like,
Yeah.
God.
Listen, I have to say that all hell really broke loose in the third act. Like I said, it just really went off the rails, and I live for that shit.
in a
Live
good way.
for-
Off the rails
I
in a
did.
good way.
It did. It went off the rail, and I live for movies like that totally just get inside your head, and it's like they just stir around in there, and
Mhm.
that's the type of stuff that I live for. Because you have all this build up. Your mom's been missing for a year. Your stepdad's got a drinking problem. Like I said, that's why it was so heartbreaking, because all Chloe had was a person that she didn't even truly have that was sent there by the cult to infiltrate her life.
Yeah.
And then you find out that everybody's infiltrated your life. Like everybody, even the damn bartender.
Literally.
And then you got Julian sitting in the back over there putting off like just oozing creepy energy, like with that grimace on his face. And I was like, and you hadn't gotten here earlier, but when I told Scott, I was like, if they ever reboot Poltergeist 2, even though the original Poltergeist remake was an absolute horrible film, But if they ever go forward with Poltergeist 2, that is Reverend Kane. And then Jason was like, yeah, I even named him after the actor that played Reverend. I was like, I can see that because the dude was creepy. So, you know, I will sing praises of y'all's performances. And this is the main reason why I wanted Jason to see if he could get you and Scott on here, because it's always good to get an idea of where somebody's coming from, especially when it's, you know, you're pitted against each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're at the point in that movie where you're broken down so bad, and you're just like, you know, at this point you've been fighting not to be possessed by Malphas, and you're like, what else can go wrong? And then you find out that Julian's your father, and you're just like, I would probably just die at that point. Honestly, I would probably just say, just get it over with. You
I know.
My life is a lie.
Literally, her resilience is unbelievable. It's just one thing after another, but.
So I have to say, Scott, what emotions were you hoping to evoke out of the audience with your performance? Because I tell you right now, you gave me the heebie-jeebies. So I don't know how far you wanted to go with that, but
that's exactly what I was hoping for, because the instructions I got from Jason were be as creepy as you can possibly be. And so he said, take that and run with it. That's what I did.
Well, bravo, sir. Bravo. And like I said, so it's so good to see fresh ideas. I'm a sucker for anything cult related when it comes to horror anyway. So whenever this movie right here came across my radar, I instantly wanted to watch it. Instantly. Before I even knew who Annie Sullivan was, before I even knew who Scott Doss was. And I'm so glad that I did, because whenever, you know,
We are too.
yeah, you know, because now I get to get the word out and try to get as many eyes on this as possible for y'all. So I have to ask though, Jason, with how the first movie ended, you already know where I'm going,
Yeah.
will we ever see a sequel?
I have a story. I will just say it 100% depends on how well the first one does.
That is a very, very fair statement, sir. I always listen.
I do want to say one thing about Scott's character. My direction to him is to be as creepy as he possibly can be. The idea behind that was to have him almost too over the top, but like he had to dominate the screen when he was on it, and the main reason is to hide Ava. There's if you I don't know how many times you watched the movie, but if you watch it again, there's hints all through the film that Ava is part of the cult.
I did not pick up on that until
he had to be so engaging to the audience that they completely miss and overlook Ava until the end.
And you got me. Whenever it was revealed, then I started thinking back, and I was like, you know what? This actually makes sense. You know, so mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. You did it. Like that was great, because those scenes had real intensity to them. So I can imagine that doing those takes, you know, I don't know how many takes that it took, you know, for those certain scenes, but I imagine being that animated and being so just into that role, I imagine it could take a lot out of you whenever you're going that hard, you know, as the villain. So I imagine that you probably, after y'all would get done wrapping shooting, I imagine that you probably went home and you slept pretty good, Scott.
It was actually a lot of fun when you've got the right scene partner and they're giving you energy to work off of, the way that Annie and Olivia were giving me. It was fun. And it wasn't like when it was finished that I thought, oh, I'm just going to pass out here, or I need a drink. It was like, okay, well, shot's over, time to go home, you know? So to me, it was just absolutely 100% enjoyable. I had a great time.
That's great. That is so great. I love the wardrobe choice too, by the way. I love the cowboy shirt and the the name of it.
The bolo tie.
Thank you. Yeah, the name was escaping me. I love that. That is a like chef's kiss on the wardrobe. That was great. I have to ask, Jason, did you pick that or was that Scott?
I don't
wasn't
remember where
me.
the polo tie came from. Our wardrobe person, her name's Sierra Ebert,
Okay.
and she just I told her kind of a general idea of what I was looking for each character, and she gave me a bunch of options, and I chose certain ones, but I honestly don't remember where the bolo tie came from. But each character was, I don't know if you caught on to this, but each character was color coded, like they had their own color. Scott's Julian was red. Um, Annie's Chloe was blue. Ava was purple. Ken was brown, and Malthus was yellow, the marigold color.
Malthus was such a Malthus was such a good, like, no, he was such a good baddie too. Malthus was awesome. I'm gonna tell you right now, that was a great performance. So like I said, the whole mind control thing really was really, it was very entertaining. There was a lot of charisma behind Malthus.
Yeah, he did
So
great. The actor's name is Brad Adams, and
yeah, Brad was fantastic. That was, y'all definitely casted the great demon lord for that one. That was awesome.
What's funny about Brad playing the kind of demon and like messing with me is this is our second time working together. And in the first movie we did together that'll be out later this year, I was like the one fucking with him. Oh, sorry. I don't know if we're allowed to curse.
No,
Okay.
you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
I was the one like messing with him in that movie. So it's funny
Yeah.
to randomly end up working together again and then the roles are reversed. So that was fun.
Yeah, I can imagine that was probably kind of like whenever you were like on screen, you're like, oh, okay, so it's payback. Oh yeah.
Literally, I was like, okay, so this is how it is. Okay.
Yeah, there's shoes on the other foot now. Well,
John, you know what's incredible? You know what's incredible about that? About the end scenes with Malthus?
What?
We actually shot the film backwards. So we did that. We did the third act, the entire third act first.
Wow.
Yeah, and when I watch it back, I'm like, how did we pull this off? Because I'm with you. It feels really cool to me when I watch it, and Annie's performance at the end is unreal because she does exactly what I was hoping would come across, and the fact that we shot that first without establishing what her character looks like, at a normal level, is mind-boggling to me because when you watch that third act, you can see her slowly becoming Malthus, like because he's in her and he's he's in her mind and he's like. That scene where he's like over her shoulder, like whispering into her ear,
Yeah.
like she manipulated you, and when he first walks up, he's all like, he tells the cultists, he's all like, I can't wait to slaughter you all, but it's Chloe that ends up slaughtering them because she is becoming Malthus, and so the way that whole dynamic turned out. I am so excited and grateful for because the more I watch it, the more I'm like, holy crap. What we did, I think, was a miracle because of the way we shot it.
You're telling me,
Annie's performance there is incredible.
You're telling me that she basically, well, I mean, he's not lying. You did a fantastic job, and now knowing that you basically had to build your character in reverse, basically, not knowing what that looked like. So I can say that it was very seamless. I did not see any kind of big, differing behaviors or anything. So nail on the head. Bravo to you, Annie.
Thank you so much, you guys. I know thank you. That like means a lot to me. When I got the schedule and I saw we were shooting it backwards, I was like, are you sure? Because I was like, this is gonna be hard. But I kind of like that we did it that way, honestly, because then I feel like me and Ava's relationship and me and Ken's relationship, not even like, oh, I know it's going to happen. I feel like that intensity at the beginning gave us more to work with the simpler moments. Or sorry, you know what I'm saying? Like in reverse. Like, yeah. Like doing something so intense at the beginning made those smaller moments at the beginning of the movie come across more seamlessly because we'd already been through so much together. So
and more authentic because you had time to get to know them. And,
And I think specifically with Ava and Chloe, that kind of not, it was never awkward between me and Olivia. Like, we got along pretty instantly. But the fact that we didn't know each other when we're shooting those moments where it really is like Chloe and Ava don't even know each other. You know, everything I thought we had is
Wow.
a lie. I
Yeah.
think it's nice that me and Olivia kind of didn't know each other when we shot it, because I think it fed into what we were doing with our characters anyways, because it was like everything was a lie. So I think it ended up working out well.
The scene where she's tied at the post with the fire and the cultists. They
Yeah.
Olivia and Chloe, Olivia and Annie literally met that day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, like you said, though, that energy that Scott talked about, whenever you have somebody giving that energy to you, it's like it opens up that flow, and you're able to just basically bounce off of each other. And so Scott, whenever did you audition intentionally for the bad guy, or like did like how did the part come to you?
I auditioned specifically for Jillian.
That's
That's,
amazing.
when I saw the casting call on Facebook, that's the character they were looking for.
That's
So I knew from
amazing.
the start, even with my initial audition that I sent in, I knew that I needed to submit things that would not be comical or show me in any way other than being insane. So that's what I did.
The beautiful thing is, though, now that I know that the film was shot backwards, that is really an impressive feat. Like Jason said, he called it a miracle because all of y'all fed off of each other like so well. Like, you would not have thought that that is the order that the film was shot in. So bravo once again. Bravo. I think that y'all have a movie here that you really should be proud of, and that y'all did, like, you knocked it out of the park. Like, to me, I thought that it was really well done, and I can tell that it was made with love too, because I can see how well everybody gets along, the level of respect that y'all have for each other. It's always good to see that, because I know a lot of times filming a movie can be stressful. It can bring out a lot of big energy, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and to see how well this went and everything, despite, a little bit of flood here, a little bit of tornado there, you guys really just, pulled through, and that's really amazing. And that's really great to hear. So, if you had one thing to say to somebody who wants to be in filmmaking, Jason, what would you say to them?
Don't let anyone tell you no. Just do it. Everyone's got cameras in their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about story and characters than it is about the best camera or the best equipment. Um, so like if you're passionate about it, you'll find a way, and just don't wait for permission.
Amazing. Amazing. I love it. That's great advice. Annie, what do you got to say to all those girls out there that want to be actresses and really got their heart set on it? What word of advice would you give for them?
I think I would say, because this is something that took me a long time to really realize, is that there is nobody that is as special as you. There's going to be a lot of things that you think, I'm so perfect for this. Why didn't I get this? Is it because they don't like me? Like, am I not good enough? No. It's because you weren't a fit, and that's okay, but that doesn't take away how unique and amazing and special you are. And if you want to do it and you put in the work, you are going to find the perfect fit for you. And what's meant for you is not going to pass you by. And I think that's really important to understand, because it's so much rejection and it's being told no over and over and over again. But if you have the heart for it and it's what you want and you put yourself out there and you keep pushing, you are going to get where you need to be, because what's meant for you will not pass you by. And there's no one as special and as unique as you, because you're perfect the way you are. So just keep pushing.
That's amazing. I love it. And Scott, what do you have to say for the young men out there that want to get into acting?
If you want to do it, just do it. You're never going to know whether you like it, whether it's a fit, whether you really think it's just something in your head, or whether it's something you could do until you try it.
Mhm.
And I agree with Annie 100%. You could be the best possible person out there and get rejection after rejection. It's not because you're not good, it's because you didn't fit that part. So if you
That's
want to do
awesome.
it, just keep trying, because eventually you will find the part for you.
That is incredible. That is amazing advice. I love it. I love it. All around solid advice. That's really awesome. Thank y'all so much. So Jason,
Yes.
The Forest Through the Trees,
Forest Through the
releasing
Tree.
tomorrow
On Screamify.
on Screamify. On Screamify. Y'all need to run over there, get your membership for Screamify so you can watch The Forest Through the Trees.
And then
Because I'm telling you, it's going to be a good one.
exclusively on Screamify tomorrow, June 11th, and then on a lot of other platforms on June 24th.
You heard it. You
Woo!
heard it. The
Woo!
window opens for Screamify first. You're gonna want to get over there to watch this film. I'm telling you. I just want to say thank you so much to Jason, Scott, and Annie for coming on the Fear Feed. It has been an absolute blast talking with y'all. Thank you for sacrificing your time to come on here. Let me pick your brains and talk about your experience on the film. I will forever be grateful for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all have yourselves a good one, and I will see y'all next time. And